Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm here with my friends Samantha, Lori, Catherine, and Angel. I'm here in Las Vegas, Nevada, where we're in a heat wave and excessive heat, and we got those excessive heat warnings that they've been talking about here in the Southwest. So um, I'm loving it, but everybody else is hating it, I think. And I'm going to let everybody else jump out and introduce themselves.
Lori Emmons in beautiful Denver.
I'm Angel Studebaker down here in South Carolina.
Good morning, it's Samantha in Indiana.
Good morning, it's Catherine Clement, and I will get started on the reading. So we are in, this is chapter 9, I think. Yeah, chapter 9, page 147, the link between attention span and listening. Throughout my work as an empath, I began to see how important the role of listening plays. I would notice people from so many different spiritual paths seeking my guidance, mainly to resolve a feeling of being lost or disconnected from source, or wanting to know what to do with their life. Even though I gave intuitive answers on every conceivable subject matter, it didn't seem to cut to the core of their issues. This challenged me to further explore why human beings felt that way. Soon enough, the answer became surprisingly clear. Anytime a human being feels lost, disconnected, or unaware of what to do with their life, those feelings act as a feedback mechanism from the nervous system. They reflect the degree to which a person can become a better listener. Just as in breathing, when one listens shallowly, their love for themselves and others is conditional and shrouded in the stickiness of personal agenda. As the skill of listening expands, the feedback of being lost, disconnected, or without direction begins to dissolve. While many sought my intuitive guidance, hoping I would know something they didn't, it wasn't the true reason why life had brought us together. The reason they were there was to learn how to listen more deeply than anyone had ever heard them before. As I helped others learn how to intimately listen to themselves, I discovered the mysterious link between listening and the nervous system. I had already seen how listening remained shallow when a nervous system was overstimulated and deepened as it unraveled. But what was the link between the two? The link is your attention span. A short attention span indicates how overstimulated a nervous system happens to be. When the nervous system is overstimulated, you are bound to feel unsafe in your body, unsupported by the world, lost, disconnected, unable to make wise, decisive choices, and without direction in your life. As the nervous system unwinds, your attention expands to dissolve self-doubt, to enhance your interest in listening, and to guide you toward the most inspired choices that are always in reach. One of the primary reasons a teacher offers spoken teaching of wisdom is because the act of listening lengthens your attention span. As it is lengthened, the body relaxes to invite your heart to feel safe enough to open. When attention expands, you are liberated from the core of human conflict. No matter which character appears in your reality, each person is healed and returned to their original form just by giving them permission to speak. When your nervous system is overstimulated, you aren't able to hear the extent of what anyone is saying. You might hear the first 3 or 4 words that remind you of associations to other things, While the overstimulated nervous system often causes you to quickly respond and share what the other person's words have inspired, it can get in the way of allowing another to be heard. There can also be a tendency to interrupt others to correct how they see you. If lost in ego, it can be difficult to spend quality time with someone who doesn't perceive you the way you want to be seen. When you are driven by an agenda to be viewed in a certain way, you are unable to hold a space for anyone's heart to heal. As a remedy, it is important to remember that how others view you is never about you at all. While they can share their views and opinions about who you are in their play, it doesn't have to match up with who you know yourself to be. No matter the conclusions that others suggest when looking in your direction, each of their ideas represents outdated clusters of cellular debris being purged out of their field. This means that when it is time for others to purge patterns of judgment, the innocence of your loving heart may inspire their harshest criticism to be spoken. Despite what is said, they cannot lower your vibration or affect your energy field unless you agree to be the character they have imagined. In most cases, it's not necessary that you even respond to those who are asking you to listen, simply because listening itself is already the best answer. Despite how judgmental anyone seems to be, your ability to let them be heard enables their innocence to feel important, cherished, and supported. Even if they don't seem to be transformed as a result of your listening, you are always the one who exits each encounter more expanded and evolved than any moment before. As others are speaking out the clusters of cellular debris released from their nervous system, you can use that as an opportunity to offer full eye contact and listen with renewed heartfelt interest. From that space, you can notice that when people are inflamed, the speed of their words will match the shallowness of their breath. As you slow your breath to hold space as an active listener, the more your energy field expands to raise your vibration. By elevating your vibration, you send a message to the other person's subconscious mind to acknowledge the energetic difference between you. In response, their subconscious mind will do whatever is necessary to raise their vibration in an attempt to match yours. This is how you are able to help pull other people up to a higher level of consciousness instead of lowering the standard of your energy to match where they are. Through a more sincere willingness to listen, you are freed of a tendency to match another person's vibration or interrupt someone before they're done speaking. Often, interrupting someone in the middle of their sharing slows the healing already in progress. It may feel distinctive to make a better point or correct their misperceptions, but to interrupt them equally reveals the overstimulation of your nervous system. This is why the most heart-centered approach is to hold a sacred space for both hearts to heal through the practice of conscious communication. Otherwise, a spontaneous moment of healing can quickly escalate into a shouting match in which two people fight to have the final word while the innocence of both hearts gets ignored once again. I think that's a good bit to chew on.
I will agree. And anybody have any thoughts on any of this or insight or anything they might have dealt with in the similar to what he talks about? And I'd like to welcome Jason to the group.
I did want to mention Karen jumped on earlier before everybody else got on here and just told me that her internet was still having issues, but she just wanted to send her love to everybody, and even though she wasn't going to be able to participate today.
Well, okay, I will jump out because I did have some things that came across my mind, and actually, I think well, I know I'm guilty of some of this, and I think we all can attest to that. or most of us, that we have done this at one point in time, just kind of been so caught up or had our own stuff going on that we just have hardly listened to other people. And the minute they say something, then we want to just jump back and say something back. I absolutely have seen this in myself with one of my friends who is a good friend, but this person pushes me to my limits, stresses me to my limits, and I feel never fully listens to me when I tell this person something, but yet they expect me to listen to everything that they're telling me. But then the minute I try to even respond back, they come back at me with this and this, and it feels like they're trying to make it seem like I'm giving out all this drama when all I'm really wanting them to do is listen to what I'm saying, because I've said things in the past. Like for instance, I have a friend that I help out right now a lot because of a situation. They don't have a car, and so they have paid me to go down to take them down to California, and then I come back, and then I go back down. But recently, again, they wanted me to go down and pick them up. They changed their mind, decided they were going to stay another week and move to another place to stay. I helped get them moved and everything. And then they said, okay, so next Friday is when I'll probably need to come back up. Can you come get me? And it's like, no. And I told them this, a few days ago when I was down there, that no, I will be house and dog sitting. I cannot leave the dogs for relatively a day without feeding them, without, making sure. Luckily, these dogs have a doggy door they can get in and out. And then my other client that I start on Sunday, after I finish with the current one on Saturday, so I won't even have time in between there. I'll be coming home and then turn around, packing up, getting ready. But I told him this, that I'm not available. But again, last night when we were talking, so do you think you'll be able to come down? It's like, did you not listen to what I told you before? Did you not pay attention when I told you that I am not available? So it's like they hear only what they want to hear. And then it frustrates me. And so then I get irritated, and then I only hear part of what they're saying because I'm already chomping at the bit going, they haven't listened to me. They haven't paid attention to anything I've said. So now I feel I have to jump the gun and be ready with a response in order to even try remotely be heard. And sometimes that's irritating, frustrating. And even when I try to sit there and shut my mouth and don't say anything, listen attentively, I still don't think. Even when I start to say something, they start coming back at me and saying, oh, it's drama. You're giving me drama. I don't want drama. And I'm just like, can I at least say what I need to say without having it seem like drama? But it just, and I know that's where a lot of my blood pressure problems probably have been coming from over the last few months. And it's draining. And I have tried to just close my mouth a few times, but I don't know how to get around this. So any other suggestions besides what he says here to attentively listen when I'm trying?
We're all just
I
like,
have to say, I'm so glad. Oh. I have to say, I'm happy that you brought it to your own attention that that's where your blood pressure issues are coming from. So perhaps it would be a better solution to decrease those interactions or find a different way to have those interactions than to take a pill that's going to give you a bunch of side effects. Blood pressure is almost always about stress. If it's not stress, it's diet or a combination of the two. So very rarely is it anything else. But the interesting thing is this chapter is, talking about this overstimulated nervous system. And that is exactly what causes high blood pressure, is an overstimulated nervous system. So obviously the way that you've been going about it, and I know you've tried several different ways of going about it, but none of those have really worked. I think with some people, they're just, it just requires a certain amount of surrender. They're obviously one of your greatest teachers, or there wouldn't be as much confliction there between you two. Like there's really something that's to be learned from that situation. And I don't know, other than asking your higher self as you get ready to have another encounter with them, how, just asking your higher self, how can I interact with this person? And I'm sure you've done that a million times, but timing is everything. So sometimes the timing is different in this moment than it was the last moment, and a different opportunity can present itself, a different way of listening, a different way of hearing. I know that from our interactions over the years, um, I know that you have felt unheard in your life. And I certainly, that's one of my big things too, is feeling unheard. And it sounds like, your friend has that same challenge. So I think oftentimes we see the challenges that we face mirrored at us through other people, and it makes it especially irritating because there's a part of us that recognizes it. And then there's another part of it that just wants to say, no, that's all them. That's all them. But most of the time it's just that they're acting out in a way that either we know that we act out in that way, or we would like to act out in that way and don't allow ourselves to. So we beat our, like, it's still all about us in a crazy kind of a way. And, but it sounds, it sounds like you both really need to be heard. And um, you're kind of meeting each other at that vibrational level. Like he was saying, it's challenging to not join someone else on their level. It's really challenging sometimes to hold your vibration, and all you can do is ask, for guidance around that, on how to get better at holding your vibration. And I don't have the answer. I almost took somebody's head off yesterday for a sort of a similar situation. It was they volunteered me for something that they should have known better than to volunteer me for, and they had no right to volunteer me for that. And it was actually the second time that they had volunteered me for something, and I should have been more forthright the first time and made it clearer to them that that was not an acceptable situation. So when it happened the second time, I reacted in a exaggerated way, and kind of, they'll probably never ever ever volunteer me for anything again. It was so exaggerated. So there is something to be said about having boundaries and not letting people overrun your boundaries, because that brings up, that is interconnected to the trauma of your childhood. When our parents were overbearing, or if we suffered any kinds of abuse, then when someone is overstepping our boundaries, it throws up this huge red flag, danger, danger, Will Robinson. Like something really bad's about to happen, and it sends our nervous system into even more. It's already overstimulated, but it sends it even higher and out of control, And so, but the point is, it is our duty and our responsibility to set those boundaries and hold those boundaries. And when we allow somebody else to overstep those boundaries, that's still us. It's still our issue.
I like how he reminds us that it's important to remember that how others view you is never about you, and that despite what's being said, that cannot lower your vibration or affect your energy field unless you agree to be the character they have imagined. And I feel like this is kind of a good, light bulb moment, if you will, when we're talking about the people that we have the most conflict with. And I love, Catherine, that you bring up the concept of the person that is, that you struggle with the most is your greatest teacher. And I've seen that, over and over again, in my relationship with Chris, because we've been together for so long. There's always something that's coming up in some way, shape, or form. And when I fight against it, that's when I continue to have this ongoing conflict. And when I recognize it as a teachable moment, if you will, or a what can I gain from this conflict that I'm experiencing within myself? What is it that I'm really upset about? Like kind of like trying to identify why what they're doing is rubbing me the wrong way. And that's when we dig into our own selves and discover, what we fear. More often than anything, I feel like it's what we fear. We fear this concept of, what they think about us might actually be true, but it doesn't have to be. We don't have to allow their thought of us to be what they think of us, because if we're going, no, it's not, that's not how it is, then we're in fear that it might be. And here's another thing. It's kind of like we just have to allow them to feel and think whatever it is that they feel and think, regardless of whether or not it is true for us. I'll give an example. A while ago, and this happens every so often, is that Chris will say somebody has said some negative thing about him out there in the world. They've said whatever it is, and he'll be hearing all these rumors that so-and-so said this thing, and he's like, it is totally not true, and he gets all upset about it and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's not true. I know it's not true. Just because they're saying it doesn't make it true. And that's a hard thing to realize, particularly in this crazy social media world where people can say all kinds of crap about you. And yet the only one that makes it true or not true for you is you. So if we don't accept it, then it can't hurt us. It's like the whole sticks and stones can break your bones, but, words can never hurt you. And, you're the only one that allows those words to hurt you. So I think it's just all those things kind of playing together in that aspect of it. But it's hard when it comes to relationships, particularly somebody that you always are interacting with. But I've discovered over the years, when Chris gets upset at me because I'm being me, because that tends to happen a lot, is I'm very vocal about things. I'm very opinionated. I get into these rants where I just go on and on and on about some stupid thing, and I'm so lucky he doesn't always take things personal like he used to when we were younger, because we would get into these big fights because he would take these things personally. And but what I realized is when he gets upset and lashes back out at me, I can take that and get mad about it, or I can allow it to just kind of go over me and recognize, oh, this is his, okay, he's drawn the line here of he's had enough of what I've had to say. And he's, and I can accept that, okay, our world isn't coming to an end, our life isn't over, our relationship isn't ending. We're just having a moment here where I have failed to listen. I've been spewing my information continuously, and he's at it, and we can continue our conflict, or I can just let it go and be like, okay, I need to just stop. I need to take this as a moment to just allow him to have his whatever, his rant, because I rant all the time. I don't know. It's hard with relationships, particularly when you think that whatever that other person is saying might actually be true, but you don't have to allow it to be true. So I don't know. And that example, Dan, that you gave, that you had said, I'm not available, and yet he didn't hear you say, you're not available, and yet he's insisting that you're going to do it, and yet you're not, and so what is it that you fear in that if you just don't? I mean, obviously you're not going to, because you have other commitments. What do you fear is going to happen? That's my question, because whatever that fear is really the thing that you have to overcome, not whether or not he listens or not, but it's that fear of what you think is going to happen if you stand your ground, or you just are like, I can't, I'm sorry about you. You know what I'm saying? What up?
Well, I will say on that, I don't think it's what I fear. I think it's what he is not ready, because all the other times I've been able to work something out. So I think he believes in his mind that somehow I will magically work this out this time. And it's like, no, I can't. I'm entrusted to take care of these dogs. I've been doing this for 12 years now, starting with the first one I started with, and I'm not jeopardizing any of that at all. For you, there was a few years where he and I lost contact, and I'll be honest, my life was a lot better without him being in it. I mean, he's a good friend, and I love him to death. And when we reconnected, it was fine, But at the same point, we've always had a very this type of friendship. Always, even when, I've known him since he was 19. So, I mean, but at the same point, I'm opening myself up for a can of worms, because this is my friend that has the mother with dementia. So between his personal issues with an accident, I've spoken a little bit of this to you guys before, that he caused a year ago. There's other circumstances, going to be doing some time. So I know that as it approaches to coming closer, he's a little more anxious of how much time am I actually going to have to spend. My business is going to suffer because I'm not going to be there to run it myself. My nephew's taking over, but he does not have the same priority as I have. And I'm the helping him out as kind of being an accountant watchdog, overseeing. I get a weekly report sent to me, I review it, and then I respond back that yes, the numbers are the same or okay, looks fine. And then he gets paid. Well, I'm going to have to be the one involved in that too. But because of the state of his mom's dementia, I think that's going downhill a little bit more. So all of this is encompassing his own stresses there. So he asked me if he could rent my spare room out for the next couple of months until August, when the sentencing date happens, and then he goes on, and that starts. And I said yes, because I know if I were in his situation, I would want a friend that would be willing to do that. he does not really, to me, in my mind's eye, I don't think he has any other real friends. His best friend from school, they very rarely get together and do anything because my friend has certain views on life. His best friend now has other kind of views on life. So has kind of said, look, I'll be there for you and stuff, but some of your lifestyle stuff, you know, because he's a limo broker, so therefore, he deals with people that want to do party buses and stuff, and then he travels to Europe and meets up and meets women and entertains in that sense. I'm trying to make this so he's and his best friend is more like my views and stuff and how I look at life and what I'm looking for. I don't go around out. I don't run around. I'm not chasing. I'm not. He even asked me, so don't you ever want to get married? I'm like, sure, at some point, And I put it this way: if the good Lord puts it there, then yes. But I'm not. So there are those dichotomies there too. But I think I'm setting myself up in a way for even more stress by being the friend that he needs and taking on that more stress because he'll be living in my house. But I've already made some very point blank. This is my home is my sanctuary. You're coming into my sanctuary. Don't try to overstep that or change that. But I know the minute he gets here, he's going to try and do those things because he doesn't want stress or he doesn't want my drama. But my drama is my drama. But yet he kind of has pleaded with me because he really wants to be able to come somewhere where he doesn't have to deal with everything at home and trying to step away from the business and let his nephew take over more. So I'm just, so I'm looking at what I believe my higher self would want me to do by being that friend that I would want somebody to be for me if I was in that situation. So in that sense, it's that double-edged, two-sided coin, double-edged sword, all that put together. But I feel I'm right in doing what I'm doing because I feel that we all need that type of friend. I wish some of my friends would go to this length for me. And at times, I don't feel that even some of my closest friends go to that length for me. So that's the other part of what I'm dealing with.
I think it's interesting, this book, and he talks a lot about being the love, if you will, that you need. And that's what I feel like you're doing for your friend, is you're being what you want out of, a friend. And that is a really powerful thing. I think that sometimes, though, we set ourselves up for disappointment when we try and give other people what we want, and yet we also tend to have this tendency to want to have like some kind of reciprocation for that, and it's hard to not have like a feeling of I don't know, reciprocation or like expectation or those kinds of things. It's really difficult not to have that, and yet at the same time, that's where our greatest healing is in that space of giving without expectation for receiving anything back. And because ultimately we're giving to ourselves, and and yet that's hard. I don't know why it's so hard. It seems so silly sometimes. I don't know. That's just something I was thinking about.
No, if you guys see what I've just put in the chat, I do really believe that it will eventually come back and, proverbially bite me in the butt. But
my aunt's one of my aunt's favorite things to say is no good deed goes unpunished. She likes to say that, and I have to giggle about it sometimes. Sorry, Dan.
no, that's okay. But, and I'm being honest, I told this to one of my close friends who, in the way he kind of looked at me, kind of told me how he thought and what. But thank God he didn't really follow through on it, because right then and there I probably would have. I do know what I'm getting myself into. I understand that, but at the same point, I've been honest and told like I said, I told my friend, I said, I'll be honest, when August 17th gets here, I will probably breathe the biggest sigh of relief and I will probably get a sense of peace to wash over me at that point, and I don't mean this in the meanest or weird way, and it's going to come out that way, but I'm kind of hoping that maybe it's for like a year, and then maybe 6 or 7 months they might let things, if he does everything he's supposed to and stuff, out to a halfway program or whatever, just so I can get some time and peace away. And I don't mean it as an indictment against him or anything, but at the same point, it will be like, okay, I get some freedom here to kind of recoup and regain myself and get back to a certain place. So, and I'll be honest, it's funny talking about this a little bit more. The crick in my neck is loosening up a little bit.
One thing I was kind of thinking, is when we have these relationships that are difficult, is there opportunities for trying different types of communication styles and learning some different interpersonal communication skills so that you can work on trying to communicate in a way that maybe you've communicated in this one way, up until this point, and but what if we try a different way of communicating and see how that works, and then we've got this extra time, so maybe if that doesn't work, try a different way of communicating, and it's an opportunity for some trial and error with different levels of communication. I was reading a book recently. Now this one was about getting kids to listen so that you'll talk, and or getting talk so your kids can listen, or something along that lines. And one of the reminders that it gives in there is that, even if it doesn't work the first time, you have an unlimited opportunity for chances to try it again and again. Now you wouldn't necessarily have an unlimited opportunity, because he's not going to be there after, what'd you say, August 17th, but you have, up until then, you have all these unlimited opportunities to try different communication styles. Just try stuff out and see how it goes, and kind of look at it almost like, here's an opportunity for a really interesting interpersonal communications experiment, or and just try different things other than what you've tried in the past, and maybe try and look at it like that, as this positive experiment that you can try. And I don't know, it might just be a really fascinating thing to watch, see how you can work with it. I don't know, go back to the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and pull out some different things from there, communication opportunities, and see what you can do, because you never know, it may just be you just not communicating in a way that, just like the 5 love languages, I feel very strongly that there are the 5 communication languages, or something similar to that, where you have to find the right method of communication with any individual person so that they will actually hear what you are saying, or at least stop to listen so that you can communicate what it is you're trying to communicate, and we're all terrible at actually communicating what we really are trying to say. We beat around the bush and we say things that we think we're trying to communicate, and when in reality we're really trying to communicate something completely different. And I have to go back to that book, every couple of years or so. I have to go back and reread that one because it has so many great tips on just better, clearer, different types of communicating with people so they actually will hear you and understand what you're trying to convey to them. And sometimes it's just all in the way that you organize the words in any given sentence. It's just crazy how sometimes the silliest little change in your communication can make all the difference in the world. So try. Yeah. Have a fun experiment for the summer.
I've just been sitting back here listening and trying to think of something helpful to say, but it's I'm hearing what you're saying, and I totally agree with a lot of it. And the idea that it's interesting though that the idea that we're the person that we're having the most difficult time with can be our greatest teacher, is kind of a mind bender, and it also occurs to me that they're also make the worst pupil or the worst student in our eyes. But we also, I like what Catherine was saying earlier, and that we are you have to recognize also that how we're being perceived by other people. We may not realize when people are put us on either a pedestal, or maybe they're, maybe sometimes they're even trying to find flaw with us so that they don't feel like they're less of a person. It's all kind of this other person's perception. And if we're aware of what's going on in our environment and trying to be aware of what's going on in our own headspace, that's hard enough to then also be completely aware of what's going on in somebody else's mind. Wasn't trying to do an experiment this last weekend, but when we were talking about listening, it came to the forefront of my mind quite a bit. And so when I was having conversations, I spoke about how we were as a group talking about communicating and being a good listener. And just that in and of itself had an effect on those that I was speaking to. I think because then they started to realize when they weren't listening, because there was a little of that talking over happening. And so it also brings me to what Matt Kahn's saying in the book in regards to our vibrations. The way it's spoken about kind of throws me a little bit, but I get what they're saying is in regards to matching our breathing. I think higher elevation of our energies, quicker breathing. But he talks about the shallowness of our breathing, of their breathing, which also is the same thing, because if you're breathing shallow, you're breathing quicker. So, and the idea of lowering our vibrations with deeper, slower breaths think that can help us in the moment to kind of stay grounded and guard ourselves from being overtaken by somebody else's energies. And then it'll give us the opportunity to maybe mention something like that. If they're attacking us, if we feel like they're attacking us for something, maybe some sort of a communication judo might be to recognize that what they're saying, even if we can't get everything that with the, because sometimes the message is missed, but if we hear the one thing that they're trying to attack us for and say like, well, sometimes you don't listen to me, and say, I hear you. Sometimes you think I don't listen to you, and I get that. I'm trying to work on that, and then go into how you're trying to work on that, and it might force the other person to notice where they need the work as well without pointing that out. Anyway, that's kind of all I've got right now.
I appreciate what you just said, Jason, but I think in some instances, even with this person, I think even if I could get that out and try and express it to him, I don't think he would understand really where I'm coming from or what I'm saying or doing. And therefore he would probably just consider it drama with me. And then he'd go in and tell me all the things about how I'm not, I don't rest. I'm always stressful, and I'm this and that. And it would come from him trying to point everything out that he thinks is wrong, and that I don't relax, and that I don't, that I can't relax, and he tries to get me to relax. But then when I tell him, by you trying to get me to relax does not make me relax. It makes me even all that much more irritated and I really just want to, in my head, I'm picturing that I'm just beating the living crap out of him. And I don't want to do that. But that's what, that's in my head, the vision that comes up, because once again, I don't think he fully gets all that. I think it's trying not to. He has a hard time going there, I guess, so to speak. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does it through different ways or avenues. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, sometimes when we get the answers we want, but we don't, we get an answer and I kind of like what we want, but it's not exactly what we want to hear, or in the form that we really want. That can be just as frustrating. Sometimes we have friends that they're good for certain things, they're really great for certain things, and then they're not so good for other things. So there's that too. But in regards to, I really want to help you with this particular dynamic that you're having with your friend. I think I like what Sam was saying in regards to trying to understand what the other person's communication languages. You know, you're keep going back to the idea of the you know, this person being a teacher in your life. You know, it's what lesson is this? Are you, I don't know, subconsciously wanting this person to teach you? You know, or are you, you've been friends with this person for a long time, or are you, you know, what is it that you're, you know, trying to get out of the relationship? I've had long-term relationships that have you know, started when I was really younger, and it turned out that the person was really actually just almost the direct opposite of me. But me and the way I wanted to like look towards the best in people, and you know, wanted to help this person out, and wanted to be a good friend, and like you said, wanted to be the friend that I thought that I think I would like to be. But as I after a long while, I realized we were same in the instance that we were both very kind of like I don't know, kind of alpha, kind of like keeping you know, being able to handle things on our own, but we were completely the opposite. And so like, I think he wanted me to be more let loose, and I wanted him to be a little more responsible, kind of thing. And it just, we were great friends. We did a lot of good things together, but in the end, it was just for me. And I hope this isn't, you know, what happens with you, but in the end, I just had to give myself a reason to be able to move on from it, where I ended up doing everything I possibly could. You know, it was really exhausting, and, you know, long nights, and, you know, just, you know, really, really kind of difficult. But then in the end, I mean, I'll just be frank, in the end, what happened was I had to, I was still helping the person, and the person was like, I don't want your help. I don't want your help. You know, I'm like, after all this, and you're in this position, you don't want my help. Are you sure you don't want my help? And he's like, yeah, I don't want your help. And even if he was, I don't know, maybe he was, you know, he was adamant about it. So unfortunately, that's where I ended up leaving it. Is okay. You know, to do everything I did everything I could, and it was really upsetting for me. But then in the end, it was also that gave me that, it was a huge weight off my shoulder as well, because I felt like I was the only person that was really there for that person. But it turned out that they did have other friends, and after that, he went on and did his own thing, and it was fine. And I can't say that our relationship did really, you know, flourished or anything after that. In fact, I don't talk to him at all anymore. But it allowed me to grow, and to see, you know, to kind of also to have that peace of mind as well. So yeah, so so maybe I'm not the best person to be giving any sort of advice in regards to this sort of thing. I do know that by speaking about how I was learning how to become a better listener, and at least that helped people around me that were open to that sort of a thing.
Thanks, Justin. I appreciate what you were sharing. Something's come up, so I need to jump off. I need to take care of a couple things. Samantha's going to be kind enough to wrap things up for me when you guys are done. So I will talk to you guys later, and love you all, and take care. Bye.
All right. Take care, Dan.
Hi, Dan. I feel like one of the more difficult. Did he just call you Justin, Jason?
Yeah, I get that quite a bit.
Do you? That's funny. I think you just made a typo, a verbal typo.
That's okay. I don't mind it.
But yeah, I think one of the most difficult things to do in relationships, more often than not, is to allow a person to say whatever it is that they need to say and then not rebut it. That's like one of the most difficult things, I think, because I think as people, we tend to think that we know what the other person's problem is, right? And so we love telling other people how to fix their problems. And maybe maybe we're helpful, maybe we're not. Maybe we're actually making the other person feel like they want to stab us in the eye. We don't know. But I feel like more often than not, when Chris is coming at me with, when he's like telling me what he's upset with me about, more often than not, if I just allow him to speak whatever it is and not rebut it, we can get through that conversation more productively than if I immediately want to jump right back down his throat and tell him he's wrong, or tell him no, that's not true, or I'm not this, or blah blah blah, or whatever, and yet that's our natural tendency, is to want to defend ourselves from whatever it is that they're saying about us, because we have a fear that what they say might be true, or maybe we have a fear that what they're saying is going to hurt us in some way, or it's going to become true because they say it, or we don't want to believe that it's true. Whatever it is, we want to rebut it. We want to change their mind about it, and yet we don't need to. We don't have to do that. We can allow them to say what they have to say, allow it to just kind of wash over us, and take what we want or don't want from that without having to respond back. And that in and of itself is a huge thing that we can learn. And that I feel like more often than that, lesson in and of itself with my husband has been the probably defining thing that has helped us be together as long as we have been. And because a number of years ago, it would have been, we would have been arguing because he was saying anything to me that I didn't like, and I know that we can have these same things happen in other conversations, like with my sister and I. There was all kinds of times where she will say one thing or another, and it's like immediately pushing my button, and that button immediately wants me to rebut whatever it is that she has to say, or it makes me angry in the back of my mind, and I'm like, and then I immediately want to be in this conflict, or don't want to be, but we end up in this conflict because of it. And yet the solution is to not be in conflict, and it seems like a simple thing, just don't be in conflict, but it takes an effort to allow another person to speak whatever it is and not rebut it. I mean, that's a major effort. It's like almost a gargantuan effort sometimes to just allow someone to speak and not respond to it in the way that you want to, and just and that doesn't mean that you're accepting the things that they say is true. It is just allowing that person to speak and then taking from it what you feel you want to take from it, and then not fighting, I mean, you just get to choose. You choose to not fight about whatever it is. And it's so powerful, and yet we think the most powerful thing to do is rebut what they have to say.
Reminds me of that passage a little while ago in regard with Matt Kahn and his doctor. Was it Matt Kahn and the doctor, when the doctor was trying to say a bunch of things, and instead of directly addressing what was said, more or so said, I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate that gift. I feel like I have learned more about kind of the way you think and appreciate that kind of thing, rather than coming back and addressing exactly what the person is trying to kind of get your goat on, or whatever it is they're trying to get you to respond to. Anyway, was there someone else hopping out? I didn't mean to talk over anybody. I'm sorry.
Yeah, anybody else final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up. Oh, there you go, Catherine. Jump up.
Well, as much as I hate to repeat myself and as much as it pisses me off, it's just almost always about a reflection that they're showing us something about ourselves that we don't like or we're uncomfortable with. With friends, you have that little bit closer relationship, so it tugs at the heartstrings even more. If a total stranger on the opposite side of the world thought something about you, you might not care as much, but when it's your friend saying something, it seems to hurt worse. But the if you can just take a step back and watch yourself and watch other people and how they interact and how they communicate, and not take everything personally and allow other people to have free will. This is a free will planet. We're allowed to think and say and do what we want. And yet we try to micromanage everybody on the freaking planet. And we get high blood pressure and totally wired over it when we can't micromanage everything. And we just have to learn to relax. And if you can take a step back, human beings are hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And I didn't realize how hilarious until I was actually living with other people, because I lived alone for many years of my life. And living with other people helps me see how ridiculous I am and how ridiculous they are sometimes. But usually I recognize that it's me being the one being ridiculous, because I can be, say, in an argument with a friend, and I can be saying, they're being argumentative. Well, I mean, I'm being argumentative. I can be mad at them. They're not being a good friend. They're not listening to me. They need to just shut up and listen to me. Well, that's being pretty controlling and unfriendly, and like you're doing everything that you're accusing the other person of doing. You're doing it. If you will just watch yourself, you'll see it. And once you see it, if you can look at it from a lighthearted viewpoint, you'll laugh over it instead of getting wired over it. And Samantha, I heard you say it, but I just want to make sure other people understand what you said when you say, let the other person say what they want to say and don't react. You don't have to answer back to them or anything like that. That includes in your head. Like, it's really great if you keep your lips shut and not say something, but if you're thinking, if you've dropped your vibration to those lower anger, frustration, all that stuff inside, you can be as calm as a cucumber on the outside, but if on the inside you're a raging storm, wanting to beat somebody up, that needs to be addressed. Thank God that that person brought that to your attention, that you need to work on those things and learn how to control your inner being. Not your inner being's fine, but control your inner self and learn to self-regulate, because if you don't, you're going to destroy your body. Your body is going to break down. You're going to put too much on your central nervous system and it will short circuit. Believe me, I speak from experience, because I am one of those people that can be extremely calm on the outside and be slicing your throat on the inside. So I understand it. And these are things that I have to work on with myself, because it does show up in my body. Just like when Dan was here, he was saying, just talking about these things, I recognize that my neck is loosening up. Your body is your largest megaphone about your inner health and your inner well-being. And but it's hard. Like, I'm not saying to anybody that this is a simple thing. These are things that we all work on. That's why we're here every week for years. Like, it's not just a simple fix. These are difficult situations that people deal with every day. My mom has been crazy all week. She's got this huge event she's at today. And other people didn't do what they were supposed to do. And, now she feels like it's all left on her. And the whole thing has been stressful because everybody's trying to micromanage. And it's just if almost every situation is like that, though, if you really can just take a step back and look, that almost every time. And I have to say, sometimes we do things, and we're all guilty of it, especially everybody in this group. We do things because it's the right thing to do. It is the right thing to do, is what it comes down to. But then we make up all these stories about it, about how, we have to do it because nobody else can do it, or, they better appreciate all these sacrifices that we're going through, or, we make up story after story after story about it, when really we're just doing the right thing. But then we buck against ourselves for doing the right thing and cause ourselves all this stress. Like, we get all wired up again. It's like we have to have all this drama involved. And when really we're just doing the right thing, and we're usually doing the right thing because somebody is in need of help. And so why don't we just help them and enjoy helping them and love them through whatever they're going through, instead of making this big thing out of it? But we're human, and that's what we do. So I love you guys. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. Listen to people. Actually stop for a minute and ask yourself, how would I want to be treated if I was in their situation? What would I want to hear? What words would I want to hear? And say those words, because those are the words that you need to hear. And that's why that whole situation is happening. I love you guys. Have a good week.
That's great, Catherine. Love you too. Have a great weekend, everyone. Appreciate you.
Thank you all, and thank you for anchoring all of this so well, Catherine and Samantha. Love you. I'll see you next week.
I love how you brought up the aspect of, if you just kind of keep an eye on people and yourself and see how ridiculous we are. We're so ridiculous. We get wound up over the dumbest stuff. It's like yesterday. I'll give you a great example of me being ridiculous, just for all your entertainment. Okay, it wasn't yesterday. This is a thing that's been aggravating me for the past few days. So we had a porta potty dropped off out here over, for the guys at the shop, right? And So the average porta potty has like 4 rolls of toilet paper in there so that it'll last for however many people you have. And the folks that brought this porta potty out were told that we were having a big party this weekend and we're probably going to have, 40 or 60 people or whatever. And they bring this porta potty and they leave it with 1.5 rolls of toilet paper, and they put a lock on the bar so you can't even put more toilet paper on there if you wanted to. And so this one little tiny thing with the porta potty has been making me bonkers ever since they dropped this silly thing off. I can't stop talking about it. I can't stop being frustrated with it. I can't. Yesterday I tried to fix the lock. It's just like I'm laughing the whole time I'm doing it because I know I'm frustrated. I'm angry. Well, not angry. Angry is not the right word. I'm annoyed about the whole situation, and because it brings up this whole thought, this concept in me of like, God, people's just dumb as a stump, And but it's ridiculous, completely ridiculous to me how much this one minor little thing has just annoyed the shit out of me. I mean, it's just it's so silly, so completely silly. So there's a funny thing for everybody to find that I'm ridiculous this week. There's my ridiculous thing.
I don't think so. It's always all about the shitter.
Start posting. We should start posting our ridiculous moments in the group.
Oh, there you go. Here's a ridiculous moment for you. This is how I was ridiculous this week. That's an idea.
If anything's the greatest example of humans being ridiculous, it's kids. I mean, they get upset over the most ridiculous things. And then arguing over the most ridiculous things. Like, you guys have 3 of the same exact toy. They're all brand new. They look all the exact same, and you want to argue over this one? You have 2 more. Why? And they're just like, no, we have to have this one right here. Or the whole thing, or like Legos. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get the Legos out, but you need to do it yourself. You know how to put them together. You know how to build. The instructions have pictures. You got this, right? Yeah, we'll build it ourselves. We'll do it ourselves. As soon as I open that Lego box, Mommy, can you build this for me? Can you find the pieces for me? I need help looking for all the stuff. I have my own things that I want to do. No, you have to help me. I can't do this anymore. Then put them away. No, I want to play with them. Then play with them. No, you have to build it for me. I don't want to play with the Legos. But yeah, kids, they're the greatest examples at being ridiculous. No, you gave me the yellow cup. I wanted the red one.
Love you guys. I got to cut out.
Love you. All right.
You guys have a great week.
Love you. Have a good week.
Thank you, Lori.
I like
yes,
to
ma'am.
think of us as adults as the higher selves, and the kids as humans. And then that's how I think of my inner self is looking at me and how ridiculous I am, how I look at kids or so. My granddaughter's here right now, and she's amazing. She hasn't been ridiculous over anything at all. But another example is just quick of fighting over useless stuff. We eat things that she doesn't like, and I just don't make her eat it. What a novel freaking concept. When my kids were little, we fought for freaking hours. They had to eat everything on that damn plate. I don't care. People were starving in Ethiopia for eat every corn kernel or you are going to bed with no food for the next 5 days. And with my granddaughter, I'm just like, oh, you don't like that? Okay, go get something else.
Oh, you're talking
Are
me
you
up like
kidding?
You're so awesome, Catherine.
All right, guys, we should probably wrap up. We're well past the hour, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop this live stream. Okay, for those of you who are watching, if you want to participate in this silliness, we would love to have you. All you have to do is find us on Facebook, look for Mindset Mastery Collective, or search for Mindset Mastery Collective on Google. You'll find us. There's no way you can't if you search for that. So anyway, with that, guys, have a great, awesome, amazing week. We'll see you next week.